In this video, I want to briefly show you how widgets work in WordPress. Widgets are little bits of functionality or content that you can add primarily to the sidebar, but nowadays pretty much anywhere in a WordPress theme. We're going to talk more in the course later about how you can actually create widget areas for your clients in different areas of the theme. But right now, let's just look at the basics of how widgets work so you can help your clients to understand it. As I mentioned, widgets started life in WordPress in the sidebar. That was their primary area. So let's look at the sidebar of our default theme. We've got search, archives, and meta. Let's go into our dashboard here, and under appearance, if we drop down the appearance menu, that's where you'll find widgets. Under appearance. There's two basic sections to the screen. The center area here contains your available widgets you're able to use, and this is the areas on the right where you can use them. These are mostly collapsed, and you can collapse any one of them or open any one of them. Now, the primary widget area, and you would name these in a way that your client's going to clearly understand them. This isn't all that clear from what it says. These ones are clearer. Footer widget area, and we'll talk about naming these when we get to that video. Notice that there's nothing here right now, yet we have things in the sidebar. So what's going on? In the theme, you want to make sure you have a default item for your area. Perhaps there's nothing in the area, like for example these footer widget areas. If we go down here at the very bottom, there's nothing in those footer areas, so they just simply don't show up at all. But in the case of the sidebar, we don't want it to be blank. So in the theme, there's coding that says display the following if there aren't any widgets. So let's go and put some widgets in. Let's put a calendar widget in. I just literally drag it and drop it right in there. Now, the interesting thing for your clients is my dragging it over there is the save function. So it exists. If I go over to here and I refresh this, the calendar is already there. It looks a little confusing because there's a save button, but merely the fact that you have dragged the widget over there, that actually activates the widget and it's live and running. What save means is if I change this, if I want to add a title, for example, to my calendar, then I can save it. And then it's going to change over on the site live. Notice that all the other things that we had on the sidebar there have disappeared because widgets have now taken over. So I can grab any one of these available widgets and move it over here. Now there's another section here. Let's collapse this. There's another section here called inactive widgets. The difference between these two is available ones are new. They have no data in them, no choices, nothing. Inactive widgets contain all the settings that you had for them initially. So let's say, for example, you've got a fairly complex widget with lots of settings. You don't want it right now, but you might want it again. Drag it over to the inactive widgets, which I'm going to do right now. Notice that it's retained my calendar. All right. If I dragged it back to here, if I dragged it back to available widgets, in fact, let's do that right now. If I drag it back to available widgets, it just simply loses all the settings. So you have to decide which ones you want and make your client aware of that because they're not immediately obvious, especially because this is so long, they tend not to notice the one below here, the inactive widgets. All right, so let's take a look at a theme that uses even more widget areas than this because this is going to vary by theme. This is a theme that uses, look at all of these. There's ones up at the top, there's ones at the right header, there's ones at the top bar, there's ad hoc widgets. This theme actually allows you to move the widgets around where you want them to or the client wants to. But these are all created in the theme, and that's part of what we're going to be going into later in the course. So there you have it, a quick overview of how widgets work and how you can train your clients to make use of this very, very powerful feature. By the way, we'll also be looking at specific widgets later on in the course that you can put in there for your clients. Widgets can be coming from plugins, they can be made by you. There's lots of flexibility with them, and we'll go into more of that as we go along.